up, folks? How's everybody? Let me know. Please bear with me while I'm driving here. Just trying to take care of some business. I will be watching the road. Just want to share this. I'm feeling a little pumped up. And this video is if you are feeling stuck, if you're at all feeling stuck, I'm hoping to share some truth with you that will get you unstuck. So, cutting to the chase, I'll tell you what I want to talk about, and it is accountability. Accountability, all right? Now, I have taken accountability, I feel like, for a lot of my life. For many years is what I mean. Long time ago, ever since I was a kid, I wanted to change the world. And it was clear to me that if I didn't like the way things were, I needed to take responsibility and make things better. So, ever since I was an adolescent, I've always looked at things that way. And it's been a journey, right? When I first started with that intention, especially as a young man, it quickly turned into blame. I'd make a mistake and be upset at myself, and I would blame myself and whatnot. And I was blessed to learn fairly early on that blame is not the healthiest thing, or basically I don't know if there's any real place for it. It's not really a word that I use. It's not something that I do, blaming people. So basically, part of what I realized is that when something was going wrong, or when something happened, I could basically either give myself positive encouragement or negative encouragement. And although they both might get the job done, I certainly responded much better to one versus the other. And of course, that was positive encouragement. So very early on, I learned, hey, don't play the blame game. The other part of that, and this is worth its own video, I may have mentioned it before, but it goes to judgment as well, right? So basically, as they say, let's not ye be judged. And it's funny, we don't all practice these things that we hear, or these terms are lost. And again, I'm not, Mr. Christian per se, even though I'm finding more spirit and more routine in my practice, which I would maybe call religion. But let's not ye be judged, right? Now, the reason I don't judge others, there's a lot of reasons, I suppose. But in my quest for understanding, again, I don't blame others. And I also realize that if I'm holding a negative judgment on somebody else, not only am I looking upon them poorly, but it's myself who actually has to carry that negativity, right? So again, I try not to judge. And on the same token, I've also learned to not judge myself, right? And be kinder with myself, right? So again, I don't play the blame game, and I don't judge. But now back to accountability, all right? So this last year has been one of, if not the most challenging year of my life. And I've had some challenging years, but this has been a challenging year. Now, right off the bat, as soon as things started to go awry, as soon as I had some challenges, instantly, as is my nature, I said, okay, Greg, accountability, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to fix your life here? All right. And then one of my good friends was pointing out, she said, Greg, I think you need to take more accountability. And I could have easily been defensive, said, yo, what are you talking about? I'm already accountable. I'm already taking responsibility. Like, what more do you want, kind of thing. I could have been defensive. But one of my basic mottos is dig deeper, right? You may have heard me say this before as well. Oftentimes people get stuck on the surface, and I say dig deeper, right? So as I'm doing this, I'm looking at my situation. I'm like, hey, okay, let me look back. And maybe there are some things I could have been more accountable on. Maybe there are some places where I could have had more control or made different choices, better choices. right? And I found this deeper level of accountability. Now, fast forward, a month or two, a couple months into this process, and I'm developing myself. I'm feeling better. I'm feeling more accountable. I'm feeling more responsible and in more control of my life. And I still found myself being extremely discontent, right? I would be, Zen, listening to meditation and, feeling enlightened. And all of a sudden somebody cuts me off and I'm just like, catching Tourette's, it's just so upset about many things that are happening. And then I realized that, again, I could take accountability for my existence on a deeper level. What I mean by this too is that, the strongest of us carry the heaviest burdens, right? Those of us who are in the hero role, or who find ourselves being placed into a hero role, we often have tremendous obstacles that we face. And, again, it can be completely overwhelming. And, oftentimes there's some people who aren't that active, who don't care that much, who don't have that much energy, who don't contribute that much. And as the world goes awry, they're not necessarily affected the same way as many of us who choose to take a leadership role, who choose to be on the front line, who choose to make things right. So I realized, hey, Greg, this is your life. This is your story. What are you going to do about it? You don't like the way things are. What are you going to do about it? And what I was doing instead was falling into a bit of a victim role. Now, we've all heard, don't be a victim, don't be a victim, don't be a victim, right? Now, I'm an understanding person. I'm always trying to work on self-development and whatnot. So when I hear don't be a victim, yes, I hear that. But also, if I'm being honest, it rubs me the wrong way to some extent, right? It bothers me when people say that to some extent. Because I've also always fought for the underdog. And I've seen a world of oppression and negative forces. And to say don't be a victim, that comes from a place of privilege to say such a thing, right? It's it's like, what about starving children? Is it their fault? Should they be more accountable? Are they playing victims? No, there's active forces. Not only are they in a bad situation, but if you understand history and global dynamics, there's often active forces against them, right? So again, don't be a victim is I understand it. It's also bothered me to some extent, right? But I'm looking at my situation now and I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm falling into a victim role. I've tried so hard. I've climbed up such a mountain, and I'm perhaps falling into a victim role. It's like the Avengers being like, oh, whoa, Thanos, what are we gonna do about this Thanos guy, And it's like, you step up, you do what you gotta do. So, and that's the thing too, is privilege, and that's a whole other discussion as well. But there are two sides to it. White privilege, it's not necessarily a bad thing in and of itself. It's a product of inequality. But privilege is something also that you could use to your advantage, right? I have many privileges. It's a privilege that I'm able to do things about this, about the world, about the situation. I'm lucky. I have privilege as a male. I have privilege having lighter complexion in some places. I'm basically ethnically ambiguous. I can fit in a lot of places. But I have privilege as a New Yorker. I have privilege as an American. And I could use this privilege to create the world that I want, to create the community that I want. And I could use it to uplift my community. I could use it to uplift the globe and the global community, right? So it's not the worst thing that I have this privilege. And luckily, I'm in a situation where I can make things better. I can help to create the world that we want, and, like my dad said, sometimes your best isn't good enough, right? And the world's calling upon all of us more at this time, right? It's not enough just to be a nice guy. It's not enough just to be a decent guy who just clocks in and clocks out, and says please and thank you. The situation's calling upon more of us, and it's time to step up. So my point in saying all of this, okay, I hope the point is not lost. I hope you don't take it the wrong way. Like my grandma says, the truth may hurt, but it's still the truth. I encourage all of you, no matter what you're going through, to say, okay, I got all this stuff stacked against me. I got all these arrows in my back. Whatever. What are you going to do about it? Is that going to be the end of your story? Or what's the next chapter that you're going to write, that you're going to choose to write? All right, so accountability, I challenge you to look at yourself, look in the mirror, and say, how can I be more accountable for my existence and for the state of the world? I'm not going to blame the media, the news, the Republicans, the whoever, all the fingers that we can point. What are you going to do about it? And again, I'm not trying to encourage anybody to do anything negative or, unhealthy. But I do encourage you all to step up and rise to the occasion. Love you all. To be continued.